Hi folks, and welcome to this video in the Profile Builder series, where we'll look at creating our own custom add new menus. In the last video, we used the owners and aggregates constraints to filter the existing add new menu, and also to prevent the user from moving an already existing element to an illegal place in the model. We can see those constraints here in this stereotype constraints table. And for simple profiling, we can even modify those constraints right here in the table. As those lists get longer, then it's much easier to use the helpers. I'm going to start by removing the aggregates list, since I'm going to build my own add new menu to provide that filter. Now, you could always use the owners and aggregates properties in addition to add new menus, and there is some automation to keep them in sync, but I'm just going to use add new menus in this example. To create a custom add new menu, we add a new add new menu builder. Let's call it a network menu. To make it easier to model that add new menu, I'll add a new diagram, an add new menu diagram, which again I'm going to call network menu. Now you can call these things anything you like. I'm also going to add that to the favorites list using Control D so I can find it more easily a little bit later. To build my new menu, I'll create a new add new menu from the drawing toolbar. Now again, it doesn't matter what I call this one, as it's going to be the root menu for a network, so we won't actually see the name in Rhapsody. I'll call it network root. Now I can decide what elements I want on that menu, which can be new terms like R stereotypes, or it can be base UML terms like package. And also where this menu I'm building actually applies. Let's drag all of our new terms onto the diagram using the category. And let's start by using this applies to dependency to indicate that the menu I'm building here only affects networks. So if I right click a network, this is the menu I'm going to get. To add elements to the root part of that menu, then I'll just simply use this has menu element dependency to connect that menu to the elements I want on it. Now for base terms, we can create a meta class. This is simply a named element that represents a base term like a package. Now those are reusable, and we can create libraries in our Profile Builder projects to help with that reuse. We can also use meta class lists, which we'll see in a few moments. Now we've built a menu, we can apply it to the stereotype. I'll right click that root menu and select Profile Builder, apply add new menu to stereotype. We get an option to back out in case we have made any manual modifications, or if we've used things like conditional properties or perspectives, which we'll do later. Basically, if that property is already populated, we may not want to override it. But I'm going to click yes to actually apply it. And now if we open the features view for the stereotype and look at its overridden properties, we can see that effect. The menu is another comma separated list. Now for something simple like this, it may have been quicker to type that property directly, but as the profile grows and the menus get larger, modeling it is definitely the way to go. So let's see that in our users project. If I set that one as active, then we can right click the network and select add new. There are the menu items that we just modeled. So far so good. Let's now add a submenu. Let's switch back to the profile building project. And here's a minor Rhapsody defect. Rhapsody has reverted the drawing toolbar back to UML. But don't worry, there is an easy fix. We can just simply close and reopen the diagram from the favorites list to refresh it. Now a submenu is simply another add new menu, but this time whatever we call it will be visible in Rhapsody on that right click menu. So let's call this one diagrams, and we'll add another has menu element from the root to that new menu. And let's move the existing network diagram to that diagrams menu. Let's now use a meta class list. That is a reusable library element where the list of meta classes is stored in a tag. Now we can edit the content of that tag using the same helper we used previously to modify a property on a stereotype. So in this case, it'll be Profile Builder, edit metaclasses on tag instead of property, and the tag we want to edit is metaclasses. Let's scroll down and we'll add sequence diagram, and then let's also add, let's say, use case diagram to that list. Let's now apply that to our stereotype. Now we can switch back to our user project and see what effect that has on our new Add New menu. One last thing, we can control the order of the menu simply by changing the order of the dependencies. Let's switch back to the Profile Builder project, and let's locate one of those has menu entries in the browser. Now at the moment, the diagram submenu you can see is at the end of the list, but let's use the up button in the browser. Let's move that up to the start of the list. Once again, I'll invoke the helper that applies that model to the stereotype. And now we can switch back to our user project and see the effect. The diagrams submenu is now the first thing on the Add New menu. Now, just a side note, if you do start using that up and down arrows like I did to reorder things, sometimes Rhapsody does get confused and the API serves those up in the wrong order, which results in the menu being in the wrong order. I've logged that defect, but again, there is a simple workaround. Reload the project. Rhapsody suddenly remembers what order everything's supposed to be in. Don't forget, of course, to reapply the Add New menu so that the helper can read the order from the Rhapsody API and apply it to the stereotype. That's it for this video. In the next one, we'll take a look at how you can add your own custom drawing toolbars to your custom diagram types, as well as your own custom icons and graphics.